no Andrew Lang, but I think you took it too far, Bob.
Boom. All right, welcome to another exciting edition of The Stiff Truth, a very special Memorial Day weekend edition. I'm Scott Casanova, and I'm here with my good pal, my best friend, my compadre, my amigo, my comrade, Mr. Bob West. How we doing, Bobby?
Oh, you're talking about me.
Yeah,
I thought we had a special guest coming on today.
I was trying to give you a lot of build-up, Bob, a lot of build-up. You know what I mean?
Well, I appreciate that. I'm doing good. I'm coughing less. I'm feeling better. Things are getting better. So the family's doing good. Kids are officially out of school. So I think the spirit's a little higher. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I'm doing pretty good.
Ooh, Bob, look at that. Looks like a tasty beverage already. That's a little unorthodox for the show in our format, but I'm going to have a drink too. So
it's only unorthodox for the show. It's not unorthodox for me on a Sunday.
Well, and let's be honest here. We got started a little late today. Had some had a little hiccup in pre-production. Is that what we'll call it?
I forgot to go pick up my beer.
yes.
So, yes, that is a huge hiccup. Mm-hmm. So I get out of the shower, and I'm, like, getting ready for the show, and I'm like, fuck! I didn't go buy beer for today.
Which is interesting, too, because I know that you went out yesterday, and you were bragging about restocking up. And this is how you know Bob's feeling better, too, because he restocked up on a lot of new, fresh editions of game pornography magazines. But the beer slipped his mind. I think you got too excited, probably, is what happened.
I did. I cleared the porn store out, but I did not clear the liquor store out. Go figure. I don't know.
Well, hey, besides being slightly unprepared for today's show, everything's fine. It's just a little bit later, so we're getting started on our drinks right now. Bob, you want to let everybody know what we're having here? Because, I'm a big fan.
I do.
Woo!
We're doing some Boddingtons.
Ooh, yeah.
So if you guys don't know what Boddingtons is, it's, I'll let Scott explain the smooth flavors of Boddingtons.
I thought you'd never ask, Bob. Actually, if you guys remember from, it was actually quite a few episodes back now when Bob and I discussed our favorite alcoholic beverages in all three major categories. But Boddington's is my favorite beer, hands down. It's English pub ale. The style of beer is the English bitters. Very, very smooth, kind of a light beer, wouldn't you say, Bob? Not really heavy or thick or bad aftertaste. Actually quite refreshing, and that nitro chart gives it that nice frothy, kind of creamy flavor. I think it's hands down, though, better than a Guinness. What do you think now that you've had experience, Bob?
It is. There's a lot of similarities to Guinness. There really is. But I would say it is better than a Guinness, but it's different.
Ooh, yeah.
It's definitely different. I mean, it's comparing apples to oranges, but this is damn good apples.
Yeah.
So, I had my first one at your, at following your advice, and it was incredible.
It was a hard request. Remember, I think I was like threatening you on text message for about a week and a half or something like that. Like, go get some Boddingtons or I'll kill your fucking family or something along that line.
Right, and I had to wait until, stores reopened, which just happened last Saturday. So last Saturday it was like I rushed right to the liquor store as soon as it was open, and I grabbed me one. So.
Talk about, by the way, talk about getting your freedoms back, right? As an alcoholic male, having the liquor store shut down, even though you could get stuff whenever you needed to, right, at Walgreens or maybe some of the grocery stores or something like that. But you're definitely not able to get any kind of specialty beers or anything. So I bet that felt really good, just getting in there.
It did. I need a haircut, but not as much as I need a Boddington's.
You know what? You have a few Boddingtons, your hair looks fine. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it, my friend. Woo!
So yeah, I made it back. I iced the beers down so that we could start our show. We're about an hour and a half late today, so not terrible, but we are running a little late today. Luckily, you guys won't notice because it views and listens all the same.
Very true, very true. By the way, I just want to go ahead and talk about something I'm very excited about. I had the opportunity to review and listen and enjoy our last show. Pretty fucking pumped up about the new intro music that we got from Enzo. What about you, buddy? Did you get a chance to really get into that?
You know, so I drove around town a few days ago, and I must have listened to that thing like 15 or 20 times. And every time I listened to it, I liked it more and more and more, and would catch something that I couldn't quite make out, or I missed the first 10 times around. It's definitely it's growing on me real strong and in a good way.
Yeah, no, same with me. Very classic, of course, an original track for the Stiff Truth, which me and Bob couldn't be more fucking pumped about. But I do want to address kind of the elephant in the room here, like what's going on with ZV. Right? I mean, ZV's been with us since the beginning. Guess what, everybody? ZV's not going anywhere. He's okay. He's doing all right. We're just going to be integrating some new original stuff from Enzo. I mean, unless ZV wants to, put out some fresh new material. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen, though, Bob. What do you think?
Is that a call to arms for ZV? It sounded like it.
It was a very passive-aggressive way, but yes, absolutely. I think that guy should come out with some new shit, man. It's time, right?
We lean towards new music, so if you make new music, we'll lean towards that.
But until then, we're gonna lean, towards the newer music. Yeah, no, great stuff. But just so everybody knows, ZV still gonna be a huge backbone, huge part of the show. Always got to I just want to call that out right out of the gate, just so people are confused. Maybe thought we had a bad thing go on between you and me and ZV or something. Maybe a nasty little conflict, but that's not the case. There's no drama there, right?
No, definitely not. You'll still hear the classics from ZV. We just have a larger portfolio and repertoire of music building up for the Stiffies out there.
And again, thanks, Enzo, for the fresh stuff. We love it. I think the Stiffies are loving it, too. I haven't heard any feedback, though, yet. So please let us know, guys. If you want us to drop it and go back to Bob farting on a snare drum, well, we can do something like that, too. Ooh.
That's how I do it. I like to fart on a tampany. It makes an interesting little sound when it's juicy.
Oh, my goodness, Bob. Well, like you said, hey, things are starting to open back up. Open back up in New Mexico. We've already been doing that trend for a little bit here, but I'll tell you what, this thing kind of changed still. We're still not going to restaurants or anything. There's still a lot of delivery and curbside and all that good stuff. I mean, these companies like Doordash and Grubhub, what's the other one, Postmates, they got to be killing it. You using these guys a lot?
Yeah, I am, but they're not killing it.
Uh-oh.
None of those companies, as far as I know, have yet to work in the black. But I don't want to derail onto that subject.
Yeah. But. Okay. I wasn't talking about their economic health. I was saying they're being utilized pretty heavily right now.
Yeah, we're not trying to look at like their liquidity.
No. Not even trying to open up that bag of worms right now.
But FYI, don't get your investing advice from the Stiff Truth, but don't invest in those companies.
Oh, anyway. Wow. Bob, tell us more.
Your money will just sit there. So, I have, up until recently, so I live out in the Boonswoggles. So that's about 4 or 5 miles past the boondocks.
Yeah, and that's about 2 or 3 miles past bumfuck Egypt, just so everybody knows exactly where Bob's out. Go ahead, bud.
Yes, so if you go out any farther away from town, you're no longer in, like, a civilized part of the state. You're just in the open land after my house. Yikes. But up until recently, they stopped delivering about a quarter mile.
Enough about real estate. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they stopped delivering a quarter mile, south of me before COVID. Mm-hmm. And so I just never used them because no one ever would come out here. But they extended that during COVID to include, another 10,000 people or whoever lives out here, but
Come on, Bob, it's you and your neighbor. That's it. No.
probably. So at first I was like, I'll try DoorDash. Let's do some DoorDash. They're reputable, right?
Sounds like it's a catchy name, too, and it really insinuates that they are going to be to your door in a fucking dash. And last time I checked my thesaurus, that's pretty quick, right?
A dash should be pretty quick. But I tried them, and I was really impressed the very first time I used them. Very first time I used them ever. We got some... I think it was Applebee's for the first time we had done some pickup or whatever. But they brought it out. It was excellent. The food was like pretty fresh and good, and it was awesome. Tipped them their stuff. They went away. It was all good. So
it's kind of like when the crack dealer gives you a really good free rock at first, and then you go back, right?
Yeah, and it was exactly like that because they're like, whoa, this is your first time. There's no delivery charge.
Hey!
Like, oh, the first one's free, huh?
Because it's you, huh?
So we were like, well, let's do that again. It was about a week later or something, maybe 2 weeks later. We're like, oh, well, let's try Applebee's again. It was a really good experience last time.
And you went same restaurant, too. I was going to ask, because sometimes it's the restaurant that was maybe had a different experience, but same spot. So you're going right back.
Same spot. Same DoorDash. They're like, it's going to be like 50, 60 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's about how long it takes to hitchhike out to the Boonswoggle. So I get this message, and it's just like, hey, your food's like 20 minutes early. Should be there in like 15 minutes. And I'm like, word, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So I better go back inside because we were doing yard work. So I go back inside, and we're like, well, we gotta hang out here. We don't want to, have our food just sitting on the front porch. So, hang out there.
And again, when Bob, sorry, but when you say you're doing yard work, I want to paint the picture for everybody. You're making designs in the sand in the backyard, right?
It's Zen Japanese garden work.
You're a dick.
So
sorry.
I wait there. 15 minutes comes by. 20 minutes goes by, and I was like, well, we are pretty far out here. 30 minutes goes by. 45 minutes goes by. I look at my email and follow the link to the food. It's like, oh, your food was delivered like 20 minutes ago. And I'm like,
uh-oh. Now it's not.
Delivered to whom?
Yeah, so, not you.
Never got our food. And so complained to DoorDash and called their customer service. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll refund your money. Do you want the money or the food? And I was like, well, I mean, food would be nice, but considering it's been like 2 hours since I ordered,
yeah,
it's like 8 o'clock
already eaten
now.
Again. Yeah,
I'm like, I don't want to wait another hour, so just give me my money back. Okay, it'll
sure.
be 5 to 10 business days to refund your money.
That's an interesting little rule of thumb they have there.
I got a little bit snippy at that point, and I'm like, really? Because it took 5 to 10 business seconds to charge my bank account before your delivery person robbed me.
Burn, sick burn.
So maybe I got a little snippy. Probably catch more flies with honey, but I'm not catching flies when I'm waiting for my food for 2 hours. So then I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna call down there and order some carry out and go get it. So I order the carry out and drive down there and go get it, and there's no French fries. It got substituted with mashed potatoes. Only 2 mashed potatoes actually got substituted. So we only got like 2 sides and for 4 meals. All the food sucked. It was just all soggy and wet and nonsense, and I was so upset. So it cost me like $120 to get some shit food and not even get what I ordered. So then when we got back to the house, my loving wife called up Applebee's and so politely explained to them that she wasn't paying for this. They needed to fix that. And they just refunded her money.
Well, good call on Applebee's. I'm glad they didn't give you anything. So let me ask you here. I'm guessing now one more try maybe with DoorDash? Third time's a charm?
I'm done with DoorDash.
Okay.
I don't like getting robbed for $65 and having to go to your boss to try to get my money back. That's kind of over the top. Honestly, done with Applebee's, that particular Applebee's as well. So
Yeah.
I just lost both of them. So it's back to good old Chili's and curbside for me. I have been using Grubhub 2 times now in a row, and they have come through doing great. So Grubhub is my preferred one. So now that you know my grievances with Doordash and my budding young love affair with Grubhub, have you had any experience with these deliveries?
Well, Bob, I was waiting for you to ask, but yes, actually, I've had experience with both, and I got to echo the same thing, my friend. My experience with DoorDash has been very lackluster or upsetting. The last time that we used them, they straight up forgot that we paid for it, but they forgot my wife's entire meal, which was like a big salad, right? And then trying to get a hold of the driver or get a hold of the Grubhub, or not Grubhub, but DoorDash, it was just it was an annoying little vicious cycle. And then after a while, what I did is like, you know what, fuck it. I went to the grocery store and bought Jamie a big ass fucking salad and just came back. It's probably about the same cost, but that was my thing. I was beyond trying to be confrontational at that point, because I think that's like my second or third time of having a bad experience with DoorDash, and I didn't purposely use DoorDash.
You're a very patient man.
But no, I didn't purposely use them this last time. It's just I was focused on the restaurant, right? And I didn't know who they used. So I was like, I want to go here, right? And it just happened that it was DoorDash. I was like, fuck, that's what fucking happened. And I have an account with Grubhub. I use it when I'm out in LA. I use it when I'm in Chicago. It's always been on point, and they seem to go to some of my favorite places too, especially out in LA too, which is good stuff. But yeah, I got no problem with them, man. But I was just talking to my wife earlier today. I was like, those companies, they gotta be doing very well compared to how they were before this. And they were already getting pretty fucking popular, these delivery services. I got a couple of friends that work at Grubhub and doing really well there for a while. But yeah, I was just thinking about that. Is this going to be the wave of the future now? I mean, I don't know.
Well, kind of circling back to their business model a little bit, I've done a little bit of research because I thought about investing into some of these companies, thinking that there's the exact same thing, because it's reasonable to assume that their revenue streams are increasing, so their profitability is increasing. It's not. Their overhead is very, very high, and their revenue streams match their overhead like step for step. So what they do is they make money by increasing size and increasing revenue streams, but they also increase overhead with it. So their value, their valuation goes along with revenue flowing in and out of it more so than retained earnings. So sorry to get like too business into it, but as far as like their company growing, they grow by simply picking up more revenue, but then they spend as much as they get. They're like, the American gross national product.
Interesting. You know what else is interesting? I think we just lost a sub or two.
Well, Mike's out there with like his ear to the radio.
Absolutely. Taking notes. Well, taking notes. No, it totally makes sense. So, but yeah, it will be interesting to see. I was pretty frustrated this morning because I actually went and got curbside pickup at a brunch restaurant for me and Jamie. Right. We just actually, as you know, we just dropped off our daughter with the grandparents. Met them in Raton yesterday. Drove down there. Did a little switcheroo. Yeah.
So maybe a slow clap.
Yeah, thank you. So to kind of celebrate our first morning where we're actually able to sleep. I think we slept in. I slept in until about like 7:30. Jamie a little bit later than me. Usually we're up, as you know, with a kid a lot earlier, right? And then decide, you know what, let's go get some snooze, which is probably like the best little AM eatery up here. But it was fucking frustrating, dude. I get a text message. I'm sitting there. Our pickup's supposed to be at 10:45. So I'm there at like 10:40, whatever. 10:45, I get a text that says my order's been confirmed. I'm like, cool. And it's like, so, hang back in your car or wait outside the restaurant until you get another text message. I'm like, cool. Right on. Like 15 minutes goes by. 30 minutes goes by. Now I'm already like impatient as fuck. And I'm like walking around with a mask on in front of the fucking, the doorway, but you can't go in there. You can't go in there unless you know, you can't. It's like I want to say like, where's my order? Did you guys forget about my order? It's been.
Do you just like look in the glass and like tap on it with a small firearm? Like, where's my food?
I'm gonna order for Scott. He's like, huh? But seriously, it was so frustrating. And then finally, like 45 minutes later, I get the next text message that says, "Come and pick up your food." And then I got to wait in another line that's got fucking tape outside the door, and everybody's standing 6 feet away, and one person in at a time. And I almost felt like saying, dude, I should have just got this shit delivered by Grubhub or Doordash or what have you, right? Because it's that frustrating to me.
Because then the Boddingtons could have started earlier.
Exactly, right? It fucked up the timetable.
In the end, that's the whole point of this. None of us really mind driving 15, 20 minutes to go pick up our food and come back. We know who's handling it. We know it's guaranteed like a decent delivery, and it's not going to be like jerked all over the back of the car and all that because we're bringing it. But the whole point of it is I'm going to pay you $15 or $20 extra so that I can just start drinking while you literally drop it at my doorbell and ring my doorbell and run away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyways, Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, fuck them. Great stuff.
Haven't used Uber Eats.
No.
I'll get back to y'all. There'll come a time when Grubhub will piss me off, and I'll try Uber Eats.
You know, I'll be honest with you here. The reason why I haven't used Uber Eats is because it's a fucking name. I'm like, hey, dude, you specialize in driving people around, not driving my food around.
Or do they?
House.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Do they have their own workforce that only does food?
I know, but it's just they should have just called it Eats. Like eat something. Like I don't want Uber in there because all of a sudden I'm associating that with the other another company, and I'm like, you know what? You don't specialize in that shit. I'm gonna go with somebody that does.
Uber eats ass.
Yes, he does. I love that. Well,
so
speaking about somebody that eats ass,
we're gonna have to fact check this.
Totally allegedly. No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to just make a complete pivot here and talk a little bit about something that we kind of went back and forth with a little bit through text. Was it last week or earlier this week? I can't remember.
No, it was last week because, you know, today's Sunday. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, so last week, hydroxychloroquine and Trump taking it. I promise this will be the only part in the episode where we talk about Trumpy. Let me go through the notes. I promise.
gotta check and skim over it.
Wait, we can't be possibly doing a show and not mentioning Trump multiple times, can we? No, yes, we can. We can do this, bro. But, so, I saw it in the news a while ago that Trump has said, allegedly, which I was going to throw in there, that he's been taking the malaria drug, pretty much, that's been around for a long time, hydroxychloroquine, and Z-Pak, right? Which again, we've heard now for months that a lot of doctors and frontline workers and other people in other countries have also been taking this as a preventative measure from getting COVID. And it seems to have some pretty beneficial things, but there's definitely some horrible side effects that you can have too, especially if you are. And I think this is the big thing, right? If you've got underlying conditions, it can really cause some shit stuff. You know, if you've already got like respiratory conditions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's like the heart and lung issues that affects you the worst.
Yeah. But there's a big thing now. I say, okay, Trump says he's taking it. For some reason, I don't give two shits about questioning him. But I did see this, and this is, I think, what kind of where you were coming from. I had seen, I don't know, what was this, like maybe a month or two ago? I think it was still late March when I heard something like this, but Trump had been advocating it. I know that. Like, hey, this is, you guys, try taking this. This is supposed to help. I honestly think Trump is going to advocate anything that he thinks is a glimmer of a hope, and maybe selfishly, maybe just selfishly, maybe so people stop worrying so much and the economy starts, cranking a little bit more, what have you. But I heard from a lot of left-leaning news sources at the time that, well, the only reason why Trump is mentioning this is because he's got money in this company and he's pushing it. Your thoughts?
So I did dig into that because I wanted to know how much money is the Batman making and what's he pulling down after taxes.
Hey, you just gave him a ridiculous compliment. Now he's the Batman. Now he's Bruce Wayne. I like that.
So he does have an investment in a company that makes hydroxychloroquine or hydroxychloroquine, but it's like a diversified mutual fund portfolio. that he doesn't even control. It's like our 401k or something, right? It's just one of the line items in there. It's a nominal benefit to him to push it. Like if he had, a couple $1 million invested in a startup that was making it, and he was trying to like funnel government contracts over there, and that's not ridiculous. that could definitely happen. But
Sure.
That's not the instance, and this came from factcheck.org. No, sorry. This came from Snopes. So Snopes did the looking into. I just did the reading of. They're looking into. So when I say I look into it, I'm really just riding the coattails of hardworking people. So
good for you, delegation, man.
So no. As far as is he promoting it to make a buck like that? No. It's a nominal. He doesn't make enough money to care about that. Now, is there some other back channel dealings? My whole thoughts on Trump is he suffers from an unprecedented level of narcissism that we
Bob, I have a
rarely
feeling
see.
that you don't like the guy. I'm just going to come out there and say that right out of the gate.
I don't like the type of guy.
Now, let me ask you this. Hydroxychloroquine or not, would you like to sit down, take some, what does he like to take, Adderall or whatever, crunch up some Adderall and snort it with him and hang out for a little while?
I don't know. He doesn't drink beer, so it's hard to trust him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he does eat red meat, right? So I do trust a man that eats red meat. That's my other big thing. I don't know about a man that can't have a beer, though. That's a little shaky.
He eats red meat, but he likes it well done with ketchup. I mean...
Yeah, see, that's... and especially somebody, that's been born with a silver spoon and everything, too. He doesn't have a more refined palate, which is very suspicious to me, that he likes, like, McDonald's and, like, fast food so much when he should be, like, all into, like, fillets and fucking lobster tails and caviar and shit like that. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
No. I don't think so. I mean, his whole like apartment in Trump Tower in Manhattan is decorated in gold. So he's that kind of a guy. But he decorates his apartment in gold while eating a $200 steak with ketchup. He's a very very strange guy to me. So it's not like I necessarily don't like him. I think that his narcissism, like when he talks about hydroxychloroquine, I really think that he wants to be the person that finds the fucking cure, right? So he hopes that this is the answer, so he can tell everyone that I did it, I fixed it, I solved the problem that no one could solve. And again, that's that ego, and it's just like,
well, I can actually see a campaign from him. Like I can fast forward and see like him, campaigning. Let's say they do find a cure and I'm being very, very optimistic here, but let's say they, just for sake of this, they find one in early October. Perfect timing for him, right? Because imagine...
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine the campaign tries like, well, they said that we did a bad job, but we're the only ones that beat coronavirus. Isn't that right? And everybody's going to ah! We beat the biggest, baddest, virus of modern history. We have the best economy. I can see it just firing away, being his number one thing he pulls out of the holster first, too. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and really, personally, I just don't care if he gets credit for figuring anything out or doesn't. Really, I just want us to minimize our collateral damage without, like, doing irreparable damage to America, right? That's I don't care who does it, who gets the credit. I don't care if I voted for Trump or not. I don't put too much stock in American presidents. In the whole grand scheme of things and the power that they have, they don't have limitless power. They're all very short term with the things that they do in the long run of American history. Sure. Usually, a couple of presidents have had a major impact, but that's circumstantial, right? Mm-hmm. Like you would say Lincoln. Well, yeah, the freedom of the slave, that was coming. It did come under him, and he will ever have that mark. Roosevelt, in the Great Depression, the New Deal, something had to be done. Circumstances, they did it. Was it him or his administration? No one fucking knows at this point.
Even Truman, it was his decision, and he wasn't even the president. He fell into it pretty much. Had to make the choice to drop the atomic bomb.
Right.
That was heavy.
So,
very heavy stuff.
Presidents are presidents. And as far as, like, do I like Trump or not? Yeah, not really. Personally, would I get along with Biden more? No, not really. I don't think either one of those guys are someone that I'd invite over to my house to have some shots with. You know.
Are you sure? You sure you don't want Biden over sniffing your daughter?
They can go take a long squat over a short dick for all I care.
Ooh, I agree.
That's some stiff truth.
I agree 100% though. But again, here's the other reason why I don't really care if Trump claims that he finds the cure, because we already know proactively that Joe Biden did this already. It just hasn't been discovered yet.
We'll find out later.
Yeah, somehow.
When the memoirs come out.
Oh, my goodness. Well, beyond that, my friend, I mean, we were just talking about it a while ago, too. I mean, things are starting to open back up. And, of course, which is something I wholeheartedly believe in. The states are doing it on kind of their own terms, right? They have the suggestions from the national government and the CDC about when and what they should do and how they should roll things out and how they should do it once they start opening things up. It's been kind of, so far, it's been interesting because I don't think we have enough data still to say, like, who's right or wrong yet. I mean, like, kind of their strategy, but it's interesting to me, right? We've got places like Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia, and the like, right? Kentucky, stuff like that are opening back up in a more strong way. And then you got a couple of, I think Illinois is actually, or not, yeah, Illinois, no, Michigan. Is it Michigan or Illinois that are still on complete lockdown, like, as a state? They're like, their stuff hasn't even been lifted. They're safe at home.
I'm not sure. I'm not even going to guess.
I saw it last week, but there's still a couple of states. California's still on some pretty strict stuff now, till in through June and everything. I don't know, man. I'm a big proponent of getting things back open, getting back to normal, just for, I guess, my own personal thing, and just selfishly, I want things to get back to normal as quick as possible. But what are your thoughts about the reopening plans in general?
Well, every state's going to want to open differently, so every state needs to have its own approach. I do worry about some of the places that are just, like, reopening and going forward gung-ho, like Sweden style, that they're not really accounting the data, and they're letting fear of the economy drive their decision-making more than the data, and they're not taking the time because of the fucking 2-week lag that has fucked everyone this whole time. That makes this thing so fucking hard to judge, is because everything you do is a rear-view mirror look of 2 weeks ago, right? And that's really hard to incorporate into your decision-making. But having said that, yeah.
Can you imagine real quick if we had a 2-week lag on our decision-making? I wouldn't remember, like, about at least a week of it.
We'd have to take so many notes. It would be terrible.
You've seen what happens when we do take notes, even, and we don't, like, go over them. Sometimes if they're not descriptive enough, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yes, that's why our notes are very good these days.
Yes, they are.
But it is a tough thing to do. Like, New Mexico's opening back up mostly. So there's a couple of problem areas, right? You probably don't even realize this, but Gallup has the highest current outbreak in America per capita.
I think a lot of people just don't know what the fuck Gallup even is, besides what a horse does.
It's this little, like, I think there's like 60, 70,000 people in that town.
Is Gallup southeast corner?
No, it's straight west on I-40.
Oh, that's Hobbs, right? In the southeast corner?
Yes.
Okay. Never mind.
So Gallup's is out there, and they're having a hard time, so much that the mayor asked the governor to lock the city down. Like, for real.
Oh.
They claimed some, like, riot act law, and there was really, like, state police blocking the entrances and the exits off of I-40, to where unless you had a Gallup license plate address, you couldn't get in or out. It was pretty hardcore.
See, that seems a little bit borderline to me with just my overarching kind of ideas about how government should act. But
so, interesting thing about that is there was an outgoing mayor that requested it with the governor, right? So she did it. Of course, she got all the news for it because she's a Democrat and Republicans think she's a Nazi.
Outgoing mayor. That's key right there. Outgoing.
He was outgoing. The new incoming mayor, who I believe they switched parties, also requested an extension.
I thought you meant outgoing, like you like to go out to the club.
Hi.
Where's Pensy at?
So as it's a interesting look of what's going over there, and obviously I haven't been over there, but it sounds like they're having a real fucking problem, is what it sounds like. And then there's San Juan County, that's having a hard time too. They're very anti Michelle Lujan. Lots of protest. It's a red county, and they're just basically sticking their finger up. But they're also having an outbreak issue over there. So it's very hard to say. And I know, again, the argument is the same as it's always been. It doesn't affect most, working-aged people. Right?
Same as it ever was.
Right, and it's, it gets to the old people by 6 degrees of separation, and people start dying when they...
Sure.
Right. So, It's very weird. So for the most part, everyone's opening up, but there's those two troubled counties that are going to be lagging behind because most of the state played nice. In Albuquerque, Santa Fe, where most of the population lived, everyone did their thing. Everyone social distanced. The curve got a lot more flattened. Everything's starting to reopen, and it's not just because of the curve itself. I think the behavior of the people. So when I go out, everyone's wearing masks. Everyone's pretty mindful of staying away from each other. Just their routine. Everyone seems to be kind of really paying attention to just hygiene practices in general. And so I think that's some of it.
This is, and I think we may have said it in some way, shape, or form before, but it's still mind-blowing to me that we needed to get taught how to wash our hands again when this started.
For real.
You know what I fucking mean?
I had to watch a video.
Seriously, there was literally a video about how to do it, which, I mean, you think you'd need to watch a video about how to wash your butthole properly, right? Not your hands. At least I watched that video. Did you watch that video, or is it just me?
The hand washing or the butthole washing?
The one I uploaded, the butthole washing one.
Never seen it.
But well, here's the other side of it too. I get all this, and I think that we have been talking about this earlier too. I'm very sick, to be honest, of it, and I'm getting frustrated with wearing a mask. It's not comfortable. Can't breathe right. It's getting really fucking hot.
Ass.
Yeah, it sucks. Then I see the mouth breathers, and these are the funniest people out there. And you talk about people being kind of like more fear of the economy, right? And that's why they're getting back to work. I could kind of flip that over and say maybe they're just not the ones that are watching all the news and are pumping in this propaganda of ultra fear and fucking just paranoia that they perpetuate too. So that maybe could be it too. But the other thing is you can see the people that I think are balls deep in the propaganda fear. Those are the people that are driving around town with their windows up and the air conditioner on with their fucking mask on. I want to fucking slap these people. I think we talked about that on the last episode, but I keep seeing these fucking people, or the people outside on a fucking trail riding their bike by themselves wearing a fucking surgical mask. I'm like, dude, that's not necessary. There's no science behind that. You're being a fucking freak right now, and you're fucking it goes beyond me. So you've got those people. And I don't necessarily think that I don't think reopening at this point is really a bad thing. And I think you kind of said it earlier too. It's like, well, people are just going to die anyways. This is going to happen. Staying quarantined is only going to do so much. We can only flatten this curve. We're not going to make the curve go downward by staying quarantined. The only way we're going to do that is through therapy and a cure or a vaccine, right? It's the only way the curve actually goes down.
Yeah, we just have to buy time until then.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing is like, what are we doing and what do we do while we buy time besides let people either open up their businesses, not get enough businesses have to close, or the flip side of that double-edged sword is we keep things shut down and there's no way they can continue on their business. And yeah, maybe the government can keep writing new stimulus checks out, which
they can't.
Yeah,
they can't. I mean, we didn't have the money to write the first one. And now I just saw the Mitch McConnell's looking at the second one now, like taking it serious. And so, because in the end, that's who it falls on. It's whatever Mitch McConnell wants to do regarding any law that gets passed. Mitch McConnell is the man.
Well, this is his sandbox.
I don't think enough people realize how powerful that turtle man is.
Yeah, no, he may sound and look retarded, but the guy he's holding all the cards with what gets passed right now. I mean, they can pass whatever they want in the House. But you're absolutely right, too. There's hardcore there is they can keep doing this. We need to keep businesses shut down because of the virus. Well, people are fucking record numbers of unemployment. People are dying, record numbers of suicide, mental illness. All this shit's on the rise, too. This is where that rhetoric of the cure is more deadly than the disease kind of starts ringing true at a certain level. So you've got that side, too. And that's why I think it was good to highlight that. People need to do it at different paces, but I think everybody needs to do it. I don't think that California staying completely locked down for another 2 or 3 months is going to do them any fucking good.
So here's the thing: shutting like America down or whatever is fine, and it was needed to, let's stop this crazy shit from having this insane blow up all over and causing mass casualties. And I think that we did a pretty good job of that. Maybe a little bit later than we could have, but who cares? We got it done. Bureaucratic time frames aren't all that snappy in case no one's paying attention. So I think within the time frame of government, there's a pretty quick response overall. It could have been worse. Could have been better, but whatever. But now that that's happened, and we've kind of stopped this immediate spread like wild grass fires and shit, now it's time, okay, so now that we're locked down, we need to utilize that time to come up with that comprehensive approach. What is sustainable for us as we maintain and get back to normal lives while minimizing collateral damage, maximizing our revenue streams for our businesses in America, and biding that time until we get that therapy or cure done, let's be honest, sometime within the next year.
Yeah, let's be honest. And that's true, but I do think that getting people back to where they need to be in stages and all across the country needs to happen. No, I think a couple of these governors out there in left field about their reopening strategy. I think because they're absolutely with the mindset that they're literally hesitant to go back to any kind of normalcy until there is a cure or some kind of treatment, which is so far off that it's not fucking economically feasible. Say what you will, it's not. You can't keep things shut down completely for like 2-3 quarters of the fucking year and expect them to bounce back. Most of those businesses are already going to be dead. So you got that. But beyond that, I was thinking about something, and this is totally just going to take us into left field, but I was thinking about it today in the shower where I do some of my best thinking. I was thinking some other things, technically. But what really spoke to me is, man, you know what? Like, I know there's no concerts, festivals, like, big things. They just canceled and went virtual with the Great American Beer Festival every year that we go to, every year up here in Denver. Then I started thinking about, what about, like, these people that run these underground, like, mass, like, orgy, like, fucking cults and clubs and these satanic, like, ritualistic type people that like to do that. What are they doing there, man? They can't have orgies anymore. Have you thought about those poor people, Bob?
Or maybe that's where some of these hotspots come from and no one knows.
I found a hotspot, buddy. I'll tell you that right now.
The orgy's still on, guys. COVID be damned. It's okay. They'll wear their mask during the gangbang, so it'll be okay.
Again, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hyperventilate, lose breath, maybe die of suffocation that way. It's just dangerous. Can you have a perforated mask? Does that still work?
Yeah, I saw someone cut a hole in it so that they could breathe easier.
Yeah. I've seen that too, and I saw a funny meme too where there was this little Asian girl. I don't know why she was Asian, Bob. We've talked about this before, but she's sitting there looking around wearing a mask, and she's about to eat a sub, and she opened her mouth, and there's like a big hole in the mask, and she took a big bite of her sub, and then it closed back up. Started looking around. It's pretty slick stuff there.
Silly. You know what gets me too? Jess went to Walmart the other day, and she asked someone where something was, and, excuse me, miss, can you tell me where the whatever the fuck is? She's like, well, whatever the fuck is over there.
Whoa! She's like, hold on a second.
Puts her mask back on her face.
What's that, hon?
Ridiculous.
I love it. Well, and I see people too, like they're working at the grocery stores and stuff like that too. They're doing stuff and they're wearing their masks like right around just their face and their nose is open to them. Like, okay. Well,
I don't trust that they're that much of a mouth breather. I don't.
Yeah. I don't either, man. That's tough stuff. Well, what can you say? The country is opening back up.
It is. Hey, in fact, June 1st, the governor said that the rest of our businesses will open up, including restaurants, like the lobbies.
Yeah, like the lobby.
At 25%.
The rest of the restaurants are opening up. The restaurants are open, but we've moved the dining area to the parking lot. I've heard they're doing that in a lot of places. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. Cool.
If I was a bar,
so normal.
I would just have everyone outside and just, like, put tape, like, every 6 feet in every direction and, like, you guys stand here. We'll just, like, give you your beers on like a remote control car or something. Just your beer's on its way.
I like that.
That way, no one's getting the lobby, right? Breaking rules.
Yeah, we don't want that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. Fast forwarding. Hopefully, 6 months from now, we'll have a different perspective here. We'll definitely be doing. We'll know a lot more about what's going on, obviously, because we'll be there. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, buddy. But I don't know about you, but my beverage has been gone for Jesus Christ. I mean, like 15 minutes or something, 20 minutes.
Oh, that's a damn shame. Let's get another one.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool.
Later.
I just want you to know that it's all about the kids.
It's always about the kids. Zip truth, the 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 zip truth. Ooh. Right back at you, beefy tits.
That wasn't very nice of my son. Gotta tell him to keep out of here when I'm recording.
Yeah, that's a pretty dick move. You know, it's interesting, Bob. We literally had a canned beer that you needed to go grab, and you're eating something. What are you doing?
It was a really chewy beer.
Well, are you back?
So,
get it in there.
So I was trying to eat earlier, and I didn't get a chance to very much. So,
yeah, do what you gotta do, man.
Grabbed a quick bean burrito.
Oh, okay.
While I was down there.
Good man.
So sorry, had to narf that down real quick.
You're okay. I hope now you're firing back on all cylinders. Yes.
Yep. I just got news that a couple of family members have officially quarantined themselves from possible exposure. So, positive thoughts and prayers for those guys and their family.
Yeah, definitely. That's some pretty heavy shit. Thanks for bringing it into the show and taking us down a notch.
It's a real downer, man.
Well, and again, guys, just so you know, we are having a little bit of a unique show in the sense that this is our second. I wouldn't really call it a stiff drink, though. We've talked about this before. We're having beers. You know what I mean? I think we're just getting to the level that we need to with multiple beers, right? That makes sense.
Oh yeah, no. After this one, I'll be in the picking up chicks zone. Just because I can't do it anymore doesn't mean I can't get in the zone.
That's right. Well, I was just about to say, I'm sure Jess appreciates that zone a lot, you know, when you randomly just start making, like, generic pickup lines. All of a sudden, you're all, hey, babe, hey. You're just like, not right now. Not right now.
Go up to Jess and be like, hey, I think I know you from somewhere. What high school did you go to? Oh, you look awfully familiar. I don't...
It's a good beer.
Hey, girl. There's always the classic one. Hey, girl. Your tits always been that big? No? That doesn't work?
I would actually be, I guess no. Before I hit puberty, they weren't this big, but they have been this big since then. So thank you, sir. Yeah, nice stuff.
Well, keep up the good work.
Yeah, well, good for you. And just a complete
this
random.
This is why I don't listen to the show. Those guys are retarded.
And I'll be honest, Bob's right there. I mean, it's kind of funny, anything, but what's wrong with the aging, like, East Coast, like, Jewish ladies? They just don't like us, huh?
They don't. They really don't.
Well, we gotta do more.
Come on over, I'll make you a brisket.
Oh, we love briskets and we love Jewish people. Let's move right along.
That's right. Fucking shalom.
Yes, does. Dreidel. We're going to move right along to, well, again, we didn't really talk about it much today, but we are going to be continuing, and sadly for some stiffies, maybe for some other stiffies, this is a big sigh of relief, but we're going to be ending our history of metal after today's episode. We're going to be moving on finding some new, fresh topics. I'm sure, again, a lot of people have gotten really into this that either love metal, maybe didn't know metal and got to revisit it, or go back and find some stuff that just maybe reignited their love for different kind of music. But I also have to think, and maybe Bob, I don't know how you think, but I'm maybe thinking I don't know, maybe people want to hear something else from us now.
Yeah, maybe. Let's just be honest. This is a very selfish topic for us. We wanted to do this for purely selfish reasons, and it had nothing to do with what we thought anyone else wanted to hear. We thought it would be fun, and we did it.
And that's a stiff truth right there, Bob, is you're right. We did this because we wanted to have fun in the past 4 weeks researching all kinds of old metal music and drinking cocktails to it. We wanted to talk about it, and I'll be damned if anybody likes it, because I like it. So fuck everybody.
And I gotta say that my wife wasn't exactly like sad that I was listening to like metal and watching different metal documentaries for the last month. So she was into it.
Well, and that's the other cool thing, man, is let's face it, it's not a boring topic for anybody if you just give it a chance, right? But I'm sure, again, 4 episodes, kind of in the infancy of our show and their topics. I think it's time to go ahead and wrap this one up today and move on to something fun next week. But let's jump right into it, Bob, if you don't mind. I'm kind of excited here because not only are we drinking my favorite beer today, but we get to talk about my favorite band today, too, which is going to be pretty fucking fun, huh?
Yeah, and we need to pick up in the late 80s, the turn of the decade going into the 90s. And we should probably talk about a band that we haven't really spent a lot of time with, and that's Pantera.
Yeah, I think we've talked about them briefly here and there. I mean, let's face it, they were born in 80s thrash, but Pantera was the main line of heavy metal music throughout the entire 90s, right? And I think Pantera kept heavy metal music not only alive and very healthy, but in the forefront, too, in popularity, right? Let's face it, Pantera was the metal band where... Shit, man! I have you watched all their home videos and shit that they've done, like Vulgar Video and Pantera 3 and all that, where they like it's just them like touring, and they put together like it's not like a documentary, but you know, it's just like them fucking around and partying backstage, doing their shows, the crazy shit they did in between shows, just like kind of on the road with them. You're almost like a point of view roadie or something like that through the camera.
Yeah, I've seen it. I lived with the Angel.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, then we've all seen it. But you could see, though, they were selling out like fucking arena style shows in Japan, Australia, fucking South America, all over the United States. And there's people crying about loving Pantera. And this, I think, was the first time where Pantera was such a fucking legit metal band. And we'll get into why in just a minute. But they were such a legit fucking popular metal band that finally the hot chicks were also the ones taking off their shirts in the crowd, right? I mean, yeah,
chicks
dude,
loved Pantera.
Yeah,
well,
they loved
chicks loved Phil.
That's true.
Chicks loved Phil. I know so many metalhead chicks that were Phil Anselmo is my favorite metal person ever.
And then I think they like Dimebag a lot too. He was a real good presence on stage. But yeah, I mean, he had the ultimate strangely weird Silence of the Lambs deep voice and everything too, you know what I mean? So he had that going for him as well.
Even when you like listen to him now, it sounds like he's about to break down in old NFL films.
Yeah. We're like, damn, dude, like you got a crazy deep voice. But no, but yeah, that was the other really cool thing. Selling out arena style shows, basically doing what Guns N' Roses and hair metal did in the 80s and early 90s. But they just push forward with badass, awesome music, fucking some of the best ever made, if you ask me, with the metal in the metal world. And they were able to do it with a fucking style, make a lot of money, and live that rock star life too. So, phenomenal band. Definitely got to highlight them as being the ones that just kept things going through the late 80s and 90s. Well, let's face it, you had other things just happening. One of the bands that we talked about last week, which again, love their old shit, but Metallica, they're done, dude. They're done in the 90s after the Black Album. You know?
Insert trumpet sound.
Yeah, you know, they cut their hair, and they were like Samson losing their power, you know, without the hair and shit. Did I see some Bible reference? I did.
No, that's okay. Interesting reference because I was thinking of it just like 2 minutes ago.
Oh,
was they
cool.
cut their hair and they lost their mystique, they lost their power, they lost their grit.
Let's just face it, they sold out. They did. Load was garbage, and Reload was just that, reloaded garbage. And then everything after that, kids, like I said, don't listen to Metallica again until probably, 2018, 2019, when Hardwire came out? I mean, that's pretty much it. But going right along, you got the death, what I'm going to call the death of metal Metallica in the 90s. Guns N' Roses can't keep their shit together. They can't even keep their band together, right? So they kind of faded out after.
Yeah, they just imploded.
Yeah, the spaghetti incident was pretty much, I guess you could say, kind of the end of their story, like in a grander scheme. They just had an incident, and they were just messy all over the place, and they were no more. So all those kind of bands died out, right? The heavy thrash bands started to take a little bit of a backseat. Anthrax, all of a sudden, not seeing much from them. Exodus, right? Testament. They're still coming out with stuff. Slayer they even came out with a more new metal kind of sound with their album 97.
Well, I would say that with Testament and Slayer and those guys, they were still making music.
Yeah.
And they still had beloved fans, right? Fans that just loved them. But their audience was core, and they were no longer growing their audience and gaining new people.
True.
They were just kind of status quoing it at that point. Not that they were putting out bad music.
No.
They just weren't getting new people into it.
No, honestly, their album that came out in the late 90s, which Kerry King, actually, if you remember the documentary, he hated that album. It's probably some of my favorite tracks are on there, and that's just because, and again, going back to Pantera, why did they fucking stand the test of time and be able to be this cockroach in the metal world when everybody else was dying off? The sound, man, was different. The sound was just different. And I love what Phil said. Every single band, we talked about this earlier, but every single band in the 80s, they would have these really fast songs, very, very fast drum beats, right? These, like, just really fucking thrashy riffs. And then they'd save, like, this really groovy, catchy, crunchy, just badass, like, riff as kind of what he called, right, like the money riff or whatever. And they'd save it for the end of the song. I remember a lot of bands, like Metallica did this a lot in some of their songs in the late 80s, too. They'd have these really crazy little interlude parts where it was just monstrous groove and shit where people would want to start moshing and kind of feeling it. That's like an entire Pantera song. That's like an entire Pantera album. It's just like groove metal through and through.
It's just Pantera.
Yeah. But it's got elements, too. Maybe it has a little bit to do with where they're from in Texas or whatever, but you got elements of a little bit more blues, a little bit more grooviness to it. You don't have to now come out of the gate like thrash metalers did in the 80s and play faster and heavier than everybody, right? It was now taking that heavy crunch and kind of slowing it down a little bit in a certain respect, right?
Well, plus, Dimebag is a savant. Like, that dude played guitar like Rain Man counted toothpicks. That dude is like a modern-day Beethoven with an electric guitar. It was just one-in-a-lifetime kind of musician.
Yeah, I say hands down that guy had something really special in a lot of different ways, but one of my favorite little tidbits about him, never learned how to read music. Never learned how to read music, dude. And yet it was probably because of the dynamics he had with his brother, and they had been playing together since they were kids or what have you. But yeah, hands down, one of the most just dynamic, innovative metal guitar players. When you hear a guitar solo from Dimebag Darrell, even with Damage Plan, his band after, you can tell right away when you start hearing those licks and those pinch harmonics, dude, and the way he plays. You're like, okay, yeah, that's Dime. I know what we're listening to now. Just right out of the gate. Fucking amazing, dude. But yeah, you have...
And let's just... I have a hard time calling him Diamond Darrell. Remember that little PR thing? It's just always going to be Dimebag to me.
Yeah, this is true. And if you want to really break it down, it's Darrell fucking Abbott, all right? All you little assholes out there that are probably saying, I know his real name. Yeah, so do we. But seriously, Pantera, I won't spend too much time on them. I feel like they deserve their entire own episode. But again, I don't think the Stiffies are really ready for an entire episode about Pantera. There might be some people that want to do one about, I don't know, Garth Brooks or something. So we won't beat it up too much. But damn, they were doing great. And I'll just say this, man. Their albums got better and better. When we were researching for the show, that was the first thing I fucking did. When I said, we're listening to 90s, we're doing 90s metal? Okay, cool. I took Cowboys from Hell. Still a thrashy, almost a little bit of a hairband influence in some of that stuff, which is kind of cool, but amazing stuff. Cemetery Gates, Domination, some of the best songs on there, right? Then you move into vulgar display of power. Okay, we've got our sound now. We've got a different sound. We're very fucking angry. We're going to come at you with everything we got. There's ridiculous solos in there. Then you move to Far Beyond Driven. It gets better and better. And honestly, when I turned on fucking Great Southern Trendkill, the way that just opens up, I literally wanted to just start trashing my house like fucking Motley Crue in a hotel room in the 80s. You know, just going nuts, dude, because it's so fucking powerful, so heavy, so groovy. Wow. But after that, dude, that's kind of the end, you know? They did one more album in 2000, Reinventing the Steel. It's a good album. But you could already tell the guys were starting to drift away. You know, there's a lot of problems in the band, whatnot, and that kind of leaked into the creative.
Well, I mean, that's like 17 years of being a band together. Dude, it's hard to do anything for 17 years straight.
And you know Pantera, too, they drank and they partied a buckload. So that's 17 years of hard road partying, making music, and trying to keep everything together between 4 unique personalities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they owned a strip club in Dallas.
They sure did. In fact, I want to say that Vinnie Paul owned it up until his death or what have you. I think he still had some stakes in it and everything like that.
So,
R.I.P.
Yeah, definite party.
Yeah. But anyways, getting a little bit away from Pantera, they kind of led the way, man. They kind of led the way for the 90s. There's some other bands that are pretty pivotal. If we're still going to go back to the late 80s, early 90s era, got to talk about a couple of bands in there that I think really had their greatest success in the 90s, even if they started in the 80s. White Zombie is one that very big commercial success in the early 90s. They were around since 86. Same thing with Sepultura from Brazil. They were around since 86 too, but like Chaos AD, you know, that album and later albums, Arise and stuff like that. Very, very instrumental in the 90s. Very big radio play, very, very big players. But I think metal as a whole, besides just being a little bit more on that groove feel, really started to shift. I mean, you either started to really get into the grunge alternative scene, which keeps, if you ask me, it just keeps straying further and further away from metal's roots, right? Starts going into more of like its own unique thing. Let's just face it.
It drifted into alt.
Yeah, it drifted into alt, and some bands kept a little bit more of the hardcore punk feel. Some kind of kept a little bit more of like, hey, we want to just sound like Nirvana and Pearl Jam kind of feel. And then some of them just went to very softer, more poppy, socially acceptable, more palatable kind of sounds. That's fine. But then we got something really interesting coming up in, I want to say, the early to mid 90s. And that's really the birth of I would say my favorite bands in here, but it's not my favorite subgenre with everybody else that's in there, if that makes any sense. Can I say that?
Yeah, of course. You can say whatever you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But that's new metal, baby. And I'm not talking about NEW or like I knew metal, like KNEW, but
I once knew metal.
Yeah, but now I'm talking about NU metal, and of course you got some people in there that are pretty fucking pivotal. Now, I did get the opportunity, I don't know if you did, I didn't have to do a lot of research on this part of it, but I thought, you know what, hell, let's get in there and let's listen to the entire first and second Korn album. Those albums are fucking phenomenal, and what a unique, different sound. Deftones, my favorite band, popped onto the scene in 1995 with Adrenaline. Fucking amazing sound, and this really was those two bands, particularly for me, probably the best categorized or the best bands that are categorized as new metal, and pretty much the two founders that brought this more like, hey, we can do some hip hop feels, we can do a different type of singing. There was a lot of whispering type singing, there's a lot of emotional singings where we kind of creep up and get more and more emotional into screaming, and then also incorporated a lot of hip hop influence too. Both of them had like kind of turntablists that would do work for them as well. I mean, I'm talking too much, Bob. I want to give you the floor here so you can just, kind of expand on your thoughts about what's going on here in the 1990s.
Well, so I know that there's a stigma about nu metal, and a lot of people don't want to be associated with nu metal, but that's because
they go like this. Gay.
well, the thing about it is when you look back on nu metal, a lot of people look at the second wave of nu metal. Mm-hmm. Right, I mean, mm-hmm. we were there in the middle of it in the mid '90s, watching Metallica pussy out and watching Pantera take hold of metal and mm-hmm. Watching Korn hit the scene. And when Korn hit the scene, it was no one had ever seen anything like that. No. There was no way to classify them, and there wasn't anything called nu metal at that point. Korn was just a metal band. They're different and they're fucking weird, but Korn was just a metal band, and everyone's just like, I don't know. I think Jonathan Davis like got raped by his dad or something. This dude.
He seems to have some very, very bad, painful childhood memories. But to his credit, and I think maybe where you're going to go with this too, is he kind of put it out there, like in his music. It's almost like his music and the way he sang and his unique style wasn't something he thought up. It was just him getting his fucking feelings out there on the table.
Yeah, it's like metal became his therapist, right?
Yeah.
A crowd of 50,000 people became his doctor, right? And he did get it all out there, and it was emotionally written, emotionally charged, personal lyrics that metal had never really seen to that point. Normally, metal songs had this huge, epic design of words. It would be like we were talking about war or the end of days or this grand story.
It was very political in the 80s, if you remember too. A lot of thrash bands were maybe not coming out right and saying, they weren't taking like political candidate sides, but they were, Metallica did it, Slayer did it, everybody, they were very fuck the man kind of shit, you know.
Right.
It was interesting. Yeah, and that's not new metal at all, at least in the birth of it. You know, it's not really at all.
So when Deftones came with their lyrics and when Korn came with their lyrics...
When you said Deftones, I just had to crack another beer.
Oh, yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
It really opened things up. And, like, that's why I say, when you're looking back on it now, it's, you know, they're kind of the beginning of new metal. But when they were in the mid-'90s, there was nowhere to put them. They were just these weird, low bass playing, grungy, cool metal kind of hybrid bands. It's just it was an experience, right, that we hadn't had before. But then when people think of new metal and they look back and they think of, you know, Linkin Park, Disturbed, they think of that kind of mid 2000s new metal, right? And it's not the same as the early new metal that came in the 90s. It was just different. Korn might have been one of the most influential bands when they came out to date, since they came out.
I agree. I'm going to say this, though. To me, Korn had their heyday in the 90s, for sure, though. They're still coming out with music, and don't get me wrong, I think their last album, and I know I'm stepping way out of it, but I'm just saying, though, I can't give them too much credit because they had a little bit of a time for me, not selling out, where they just stopped sounding like Korn, and they kind of started doing weird shit. But yes, they're very. I don't think I can ever classify or actually. It's still hard. I don't like the new metal. I don't like the label.
It's a weird stigma, right?
It's a weird stigma because when I think new metal, honestly, and what's just again so fucking weird, old Korn, and when I say old Korn, I mean the first 3 albums, and the third one is almost a little bit like the Black Album by Metallica, if you ask me too. That's when he starts hanging out with Fred Durst way too much, you know, and you can kind of feel a little bit of a vibe from. Anyways, you know, that one's it's shaky, Bob. But the first 2, the self-titled Follow the Leader. Or not Follow the Leader, Life is Peachy. Those albums are fucking phenomenal. And I cannot classify those albums in a genre. If you were just to play those albums for me, like, what do you think that is? I don't know, some kind of weird, funky-ass metal with sick-ass drop tuning and a ridiculous, like, bass. You know, I don't know what's going on.
In a time where there wasn't dropped D.
Oh, yeah. That's the other big thing about
Let's not forget that.
Too. Yeah, that's the other exciting thing really about new metal too, and I love playing guitar in drop tuning. You know, you drop that thing down to a D, or by all means, drop it down to a C if you want to, and really get grimy, right? Because then you can get that really deep, nasty, fucking heavy sound, and you don't have to play a mile a minute for it to sound cool. You can actually play it much slower and have it sound super dark and devious and just in your face. No, it's great stuff, man. Great stuff.
Yeah, I think Korn, I haven't talked to anyone, but I think Korn directly opened up and were influencing bands like Slipknot, right? Like without Korn, there is no Slipknot as we know it. They might have existed, but they would have been a lot different. I think
they would have had to be, right? There wouldn't have been, because let's face it, man, Slipknot's first album I think came out in '99, their self-titled album. That's a fucking great album. And there's a lot of weird mixes in there. There's a lot of like turntables in there. There's a lot of sampling in there. There's a lot of heavy ass guitars and sick ass drums too, and screaming, right? But there's a blend in there that I think is a recipe exactly for what Korn, what Deftones were doing when they first started this. Now, there's another big player here, Bob, and I got to talk about him here. And I don't think we're either big fans. I know my boy Guido's probably going to be pissed at us too, but I'm not a big fan of Linkin Park or Limp Bizkit. I just got to come out and say that. This is a stiff truth of mine, is I think Limp Bizkit killed the first wave of nu metal, and I think, unfortunately, Linkin Park is associated too heavily with the next wave of nu metal, which kind of gave it the shitty taint.
You know, it's funny because you can't have Limp Bizkit without Fred Durst, but the world could have. I think that Fred Durst was like the worst part about Limp Bizkit.
You're 100% right, though.
Because of that guy, like, single-handedly, like, just tarnished the reputation of, you know, the rip rock thing, the hip-hop rock, because of his fucking going back to the narcissism, because he's a fucking douchebag. And it started floating to the top all the time, so much that Wes Borland wanted to leave the band because he was too douchey.
Oh,
right?
And here's the thing, too. Wes Borland is the best part of Limp Bizkit by fucking far. Him and DJ Lethal, you know what I mean? The turntablists. Those guys are fucking badass. So I just got to come out and say that. Wes Borland, I love you, guy. Sorry you got locked up in such a shitty band.
So, yeah, as far as those two, I think it's like, I think Linkin Park is just like a way better ensemble of music and depth musically than what Limp Bizkit brought to the table. But the timing of when Limp Bizkit did it, no one was doing it. It was fresh. It was awesome. And again, if it had been someone else that was way less douchey and more about the music and not making shit called the Nookie, so that they could get MTV videos with fucking Bentleys and shit and bitches.
You know what's crazy? Still the biggest grossing nu metal song of that era, which is fucking just, again, this is why I don't like being tied to the nu metal like scene, particularly because people start throwing bands out there like it. And I will say this, I'll definitely give you what you just said, and I got to give Linkin Park credit. They're musicians. They're really good musicians. They're stand-up guys, right? Too. Chester Pennington, I actually did get to see, and this is a funny story, Bob, because I was actually pretty fucking pissed off when I did see him, because I was sold tickets under false pretense. Okay, I got some false advertising going on, because about, what was it, 5-6 years ago, it was before Scott Weiland had died, and there was rumors that he was going to be reuniting with Stone Temple Pilots. All of a sudden, Stone Temple Pilots came out with a tour, and I was like, holy shit! Grabbed my buddy Blair, my other friend, and I was like, dude, we gotta go see Stone Temple Pilots. I got tickets. I got awesome tickets. They really weren't that expensive, which is kind of suspect to me. I was scratching my head. I was like, why are these so cheap? We got these great seats, man. All of a sudden, I get to the show, and I actually get my tickets from Will Call, and then I'm like, okay, wait, what's going on here? And it says Stone Temple Pilots with Chester Pennington. And I was like, what the fuck is this shit? This is not what I paid for, dude. I wanted to see Scott Weiland. You know what I'm saying, dude? Like, if you're going to see Stone Temple Pilots, you do not want to see the dude from Linkin Park fronting them. But that's what I got to see. But I'll tell you what.
How'd he do?
He did a decent job when his voice didn't have to get very deep, which Scott can do very well. So there was songs.
It's all the heroin and cigarettes.
Exactly. Chester, you were slacking, even though, R.I.P. to Chester and everything, but he was slacking on that. So yeah, there was some parts of the songs where I'd be like, all right, of course the music was completely on point, right? But then he'd sing, and then they'd hit one of the lower parts that Scott would nail. I'd just be like, oh God. So anyways, got to give respect to the guy, because he did love Stone Temple Pilots. He wanted to front them. Apparently always wanted to sing with them. Good for him. But I still wanted my money back when I saw that show. This is a total sidebar here. Sorry about that. I was just a little upset about it at the time.
Oh, no. That sounds like a stiff truth tidbit to me. Yeah, Linkin Park's fine. I mean, they're good. I didn't know that their album was one of the
Hybrid Theory
best-selling debut albums in like the history of music.
Yeah,
like fucking A, that thing sold so many copies, like 30+ million. So.
They also had a handful of tracks on there too that were all #1 hits for a while too. Like so many. I was like, okay, I get it. But I don't know, man. I still, though, again, with the nu metal thing, there's a handful of phenomenal bands in the nu metal genre. Obviously, one of my favorite bands in there. But the bands like Disturbed, too. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. Get that vocalist fucking out of there, and the band is badass. I don't need the fucking machine gun way of singing. I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, but I do really like Static X.
Oh, I love Static X. But see, much different sound if you ask me, dude. Much different sound. Now we're starting to creep into industrial metal and stuff like that, which, again, they're still, they're kind of classified as each. You know, it's
I
interesting.
want to creep into that dude's hair product.
Yeah, well. Wayne Static, another guy. R.I.P. R.I.P. The guy.
That dude had a hair that was like up to there. It's awesome.
Dude took some pain pills, fell asleep to his wife, and never woke up. You know, in the late 2000s. Sad times. Because I really love Static X. I mean, their first album, Wisconsin Death Trip in '99, to another fucking badass fucking album, dude. And I think
if I recall, we listened to plenty of Static X at the old J10.
Oh yeah. We had to. It was part of the routine, right? Boilermakers, some Static X, Clockwork Orange, and then we do it again.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
But yeah, you know what? This was another part of metal too that I think it was short lived, right? But then you also have a lot of bands that did stand the test of time and became their own, right? I mean, if we look even at Korn, you notice Limp Bizkit can't be in this conversation because there is no like current Limp Bizkit albums.
No, I think their last at least commercially successful recognizable album was in 2008.
Yeah, was it called Chocolate Starfish?
No, that was 2000.
Okay.
No, they had several albums after that, but yeah, they created something and then got outdone by everyone else and just passed by. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, again, Fred Durst, probably one of the most polarizing frontmen, right? I think you either love him or you completely hate the fucking guy. There are some people I talk to that actually really like Limp Bizkit and enjoy him. Whatever. I can't agree with them. But yeah, no, it was a short-lived time that really... we'll just take right now. Deftones. Do they sound anything like they did in the 90s? No, not anymore now. It's completely different.
Should they?
No.
Right.
Honestly, they're both 20-something years older. You know, they started when they were early 20s, late teens, that kind of shit. You're not going to be writing the same aggressive emo emotional music in your 40s and
it should evolve.
Yeah, but some bands did a really good job of that. Deftones, I think, probably most notably, and Korn did a pretty good job of that too. I mean, they have some albums that I'm like, whatever. But their latest one that they came out with, The Nothing, is fucking phenomenal. Did you see that?
That
yeah,
performance?
You did. Yeah, that rare concert that they did, or what have you.
You sent it to me, and I remember I stopped the family, and we all circled around, and I Chromecasted it, and we watched the whole thing.
That was a damn good show, and even some of their newer stuff, I was just as good as some of their older stuff. It's almost like they got kind of back to their roots, and I was very, very excited about that. So there's some bands from this era that have really stood the test of time, but I mean, Stuck Mojo. Do you really hear anything from them anymore? Limp Bizkit, right? I mean, there's some other bands. Cold Chamber. What the fuck happened to those guys, right? You know, I mean, not a lot of these bands moved on past the late '90s, early 2000s, and I mean that's just the way it is, right? It's kind of one of those. I wouldn't say this is nearly I wouldn't compare it to glam, but it had almost the same length and run.
I was just about to say the same thing. It seems like bands in the 2000s hopped onto the genre to make cash grabs and try to grab fame instead of making the music that they wanted to make and let it ride, however it'll ride.
Yeah, see, they were making cash grabs. I was making cock grabs. We were both writing, right? We're both writing. What? What's going on? Okay.
What happened?
I was in a different show.
Just drink your beer, man.
I'm sorry, Father West.
It's been a couple of decades since my last confession.
But no, good stuff. But it's interesting because we're at a point right now where we're talking about our evolution of metal. And I will tell you this, we did leave out something because honestly it was just too much, guys. And I think everybody's okay with that, but I'm going to mention there are a lot of subgenres of metal that we really didn't dive deep into. And that, honestly, it basically kind of, you can wrap it into what they call extreme metal, right? So death metal, like doom metal, goth metal, black metal, like there's waves and waves of this. It's through the 80s and 90s and 2000s and beyond.
We couldn't do that many shows on it.
No, we couldn't. And honestly, that one would be, for me, honestly, that one would be not a stretch for me, but I don't like a lot of black metal. I just don't. I only like a couple of black metal bands. I love death metal, but I only like a couple of death metal bands, and they're usually the originators. I do like Death, the band Death. I do like Morbid Angel. I do like Cannibal Corpse. After that, I kind of lose interest in kind of keeping on following on to the newer shit. You know what I mean? Whatever. I know the newer bands that are really heavy and shit. Lamb of God is probably...
Dude, slap your goatskin leggings on, put on a fucking mask, and let's go get down.
You know it. But I will say this. In the new American metal, and I'll say this. Lamb of God, they are probably up there as... They're my Pantera of this generation. I can say that pretty confidently.
How about Five Finger?
No, I can't stand them. No.
Just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Oh, no, I'll give you a stiff truth about what I think about Five Finger. Five Finger are the same fucking douchebags that are wearing Affliction t-shirts and not fighting in the MMA. Five Finger Death Punch has a bunch of tattoos of barbed wires. Five Finger Death Punch are the douchebags of fucking metal. How's that?
Are they wearing tap-out t-shirts to the gym?
You know they are. And they're
Nice.
yeah. And they got, I'm telling you, dude, I can't stand that shit. There's a couple of bands too, and this is why I didn't want to get into it too much, but if you want to get into it a little bit here, there's a couple of bands that I can't stand at all. Five Finger Death Punch, they probably lead the charts. Not only is their name fucking pathetic and like total douchebaggery. Have you seen pictures of these fucking clowns? Look them up.
I don't pay much attention to them.
You shouldn't. They suck. It's basically what I'd like to call almost, I hate to say this, but like generic military metal. Does that make sense?
Is it like poser metal?
Pretty much. I think it is. It's guys that think they're super badass and they want to play, and I think they do play a lot to the military, which is totally fine. Love the military. Here it is, Memorial Day weekend. Fucking we love the veterans. But it's a very generic sounding metal, and I think it's literally the 80s hair band version of modern heavy metal, if you ask me. I don't think there's any substance in it. I don't think there's anything about the music. They just know if they play hard, they play heavy, and they scream, they're going to get the chicks or something like that. I think it's just a revamp of that, man. I honestly think that's what it is.
Well, I was just expecting an answer like, they're okay, or I'm not really into them, but thanks for the elaboration.
Yeah, no. They
I
fucking
obviously
suck.
struck a chord with that one.
No, they do fucking suck. They fucking suck. Anytime I see Five Finger Death Punch, the first thing I do is I roll my fucking eyes, and then I automatically start getting angry for a minute, and then I scroll down.
Oh, there's a band in the 90s that I just like want to mention just because I think they should be mentioned, and that's
Sure,
Seven
yeah.
Dust.
Ooh. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned them. I'm really glad you mentioned them. A couple things that I love about Seven Dust. One, how I found Seven Dust was very interesting to me. I was in Best Buy, as I tended to do in the mid-90s, CD shopping.
Peruse the CD aisle.
Yeah, you know what's up, because they actually had a damn good selection in the mid-90s. So I was going through there, walking around, seeing what's up. I see this new Seven Dust album, first one, and I read it, and there's a little thing on the thing. It says, you know, featured on Ozfest 94 or 95. I can't remember if it was 94 or 95. Ozzy says, the heaviest band that he's heard, right? Or whatever. And it was like some quote from Ozzy. I was like, huh, well, fuck me. I need to get this album like yesterday. Got that album. Wow. Not only are they heavy as fuck, and they are new metal. Let's not get it wrong either.
Yep.
They're definitely new metal. But, dude, they are heavy, crunchy, and I don't know the lead singer's name, but god damn, he's got one of the best voices in metal and otherwise. The dude can sing. He's fucking awesome. Their first few albums, to me, are fucking dynamo. Just dynamo. And they're right in that era, too, like 95, 97, 99. You know, right perfect.
I was listening to them this morning, and I was just like, you know what? We can't forget those guys.
You can't, dude. And honestly, their album, I think, I even have to look it up, dude, because the album with Waffle on it and Denial, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's their best album, if you ask me.
Yeah, that was, in fact, the song that I was listening to when I was thinking about it. Of course it was. It was, like, their probably most sold song.
Mm-hmm. Early years. Ozfest 98. Mortal Kombat soundtrack. Really? I don't remember that. Anyways, yeah, no, great shit. But Home, that's the album right there. Came out in '99. Their first album was this one I saw in the store called Seven Dust. But Home, that one's fucking amazing, dude. That one, if you got Denial on there, you got Waffle, Head Trip, you got Rumplefish, so awesome. And also on that album, just so you know, all the kids out there, all the stiffies, if you haven't heard Bender, it's the last track on the album. It is the best collaboration with Chino Moreno from the Deftones, from Deftones, and these guys, and they do a sick fucking jam. I think it's my favorite, it's my top two Chino collabos right there. So, just gonna drop that on you, fuckface.
I'm glad you mentioned the kids, because they need to know this, because it's all about the kids.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I mean, I was waiting for it. I didn't know when you were gonna fit it in, but God, if we forget that, we're not being about the kids, are we? No, we're being anti-kid. We can't do that, Bob.
We don't want to be anti-kid like, Dolph Lundgren.
No. Or Casey Anthony, you know what I mean?
Definitely not.
Too soon? Woo.
Well, I think we're hitting up against it. I think we're about out of time on this amazing episode, and it really kind of bums me out that it had to come to an end, but I understand we're not actually a metal podcast or a music podcast for that much, but this has been a very fun adventure. It's really brought things back to light that I had forgotten. It's reinvigorated my love and associations with things that I haven't thought about in a long time, and music I haven't heard in a long time, and it's been really, really an amazing adventure for the last month.
I loved it. Yeah, I felt, honestly, it was like kind of going through childhood again from start to finish, right? This last one we were at, when we started, it was kind of like us as little tiny kids, like, picking up our parents' LPs and shit like that. And then it kind of creeped into us being in our, when we were like, shitting our pants and rubbing it on our face kind of shit. And then we kind of creeped into our teenage years, right, at the end. So it was, it was
back
refreshing.
When we became men, shitty, drunk men, but men.
Nonetheless, we get the title, my friend. Well, absolutely, man. Well, again, guys, this has been such a fun topic for me and Bob, but it's time to move on. So we're going to be closing out this series on the history of metal. And for a very quick recap, Black Sabbath is the best band that created it. Metallica and Slayer were kings of the 80s. Motley Crue, not a bad band, but kind of gay. Guns N' Roses led... Hold on, Bob. Guns N' Roses kind of led that charge. And Pantera was, the big, hard-throbbing cock through the 90s of heavy metal. And then when things started to get a little bit boring, Korn and Deftones spiced it up. The end.
Then Limp Bizkit came and started a dumpster fire to the genre.
We don't want to... Bob, you're right, but we don't want to end this on a negative note. So, all right, guys. Bob, do you have anything else that you want to add, man? Any shout-outs that you want to give?
Yeah, I just want to, thank Enzo and ZV for the music. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, to like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that. You guys know how to do that.
I think.
And just take a minute over, this holiday weekend to think about our veterans in America and think about how we live our lives, our ability to have all of this music and listen to it, and just the freedoms that we have, because so many people have fought and died for us. So really big ups to our vets and all the veterans that we've lost. So enjoy your weekend and get drunk and think about all our soldiers.
I love that too, and I gotta just kind of clarify so some of the civvies don't confuse. When you guys are masturbating this weekend and you're grilling and good stuff like that, maybe don't think about the veterans all the time, but definitely just reflect on what you have.
That's the best time.
Just reflect on what all these freedoms that we have. Like, I have the freedom to walk upstairs and stick my finger up my ass and walk around because of the veterans. So other than that, Bob, I'm done, my friend. I think we're going to have a very invigorating and fresh new topic and a new drink next week. So excited to dive into that and can't wait for everybody to join us. As always, Bob, you've been a dream. Thanks for partner up with me for the show. And thanks for all the stiffies listening out there. We will see you guys next week, and enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend.
See ya. Peace. I just want you to know that it's all about the kids.
It's always about the kids. Zip truth, the zip truth, the zip truth, the zip truth, the zip truth.